Brace yourselves. The story you have been fed for 18 straight years about Rick Ross and 50 Cent was never actually the story. Say that with your whole chest. It was never the lawnmower. It was never the commercial flight in Colombia. It was never the coffee table dressed in $100 bills. It was never the money sandwich photograph, the Officer Ricky meme, the fake bankruptcy roast, the fridge full of cash boomerang, or the 18-year parade of jokes that trended with smoke. Thick, expensive, beautifully packaged smoke. And while the entire hip-hop universe stood in front of that smoke, blinking, laughing, tagging their friends, screenshotting for the group chat, something else was moving behind the curtain. Something that connects a Fayetteville estate, a Miami private aviation hangar, a Wingstop licensing arrangement, and a paper trail that allegedly stretches from a Florida correctional office all the way to an overseas server that most of the internet does not even know exists. Nobody caught it. Not the blogs, not the podcasts, not the reaction channels dropping hot takes every 12 minutes, not the culture critics, not the ghostwriters, not the columnists. But 50 Cent caught it. And the second Curtis Jackson decided to say the quiet part out loud on a live broadcast, the entire architecture Rick Ross spent 2 decades building started shaking on its own foundation without anybody laying a finger on it. So sit down, turn the volume up, and put the phone face down, because what is coming next is not a rap breakdown. What is coming next is a forensic autopsy of the most expensive misdirection in modern hip-hop history. By the time we finish, your eyes are going to be open in a way they have never been open before, and I promise you will never watch a single Rick Ross meme the same way again. Let me repeat this so nobody can miss it and nobody can misquote it later. The Rick Ross versus 50 Cent feud was a decoy. Once you see it, you cannot unsee it. Once you see it, every joke reorganizes itself. Every mugshot meme reorganizes itself. Every lawnmower selfie reorganizes itself. Every viral post from 2009 to right now reorganizes itself in front of your eyes, and the picture that emerges is not a rivalry. The picture that emerges is an operation. Start where the smoke started. January 2009. Mafia music leaks online. Rick Ross drops the first bomb. Rick Ross wraps luxury imagery, planting a flag on a boss persona built brick by brick out of Miami excess and Maybach mythology. And what does 50 Cent do in return? 50 Cent does not counter with a diss track. 50 Cent counters with paperwork. That is the detail that everybody in the culture remembers wrong. Curtis Jackson did not go bar for bar. Curtis Jackson went document for document. And that single tactical choice, the choice to fight a music war with public records instead of 8 bars over a beat, is a thumbprint. That is the fingerprint on the entire 18-year operation. Because 50 Cent has never once, not one single time, ever come at Rick Ross the way a rapper comes at a rapper. 50 Cent has always come at Rick Ross the way a forensic accountant comes at a suspect. And nobody in the culture ever stopped to ask the obvious question. Why? Officer Ricky was not a punchline. Officer Ricky was a receipt. A public record pulled straight from a Florida corrections database. And once you understand that the very first shot fired in this entire war was a document reveal, the whole shape of the last 18 years starts to look completely different. Because if the very first shot was a receipt, what has 50 Cent been holding all this time? What has 50 Cent been sitting on, saving on, quietly waiting to release when the moment was loudest and the audience was largest and the culture was watching? That is not a rap beef. That is a slow-motion investigation with a soundtrack. And it has been running in plain sight for 2 full decades. Fast forward. 2015. 50 Cent files Chapter 11. Rick Ross throws a party. Rick Ross tells the world Rick Ross's own legal team pulled up Curtis Jackson's bank statements, saw a 2-bedroom apartment on the ledger, and felt bad. Rick Ross laughs. Rick Ross posts. Rick Ross builds an entire content cycle out of the alleged poverty of Rick Ross's rival, monetizing the moment across features, interviews, podcasts, and posts, and here is the part that should burn a hole through your screen. 50 Cent walked away from that Chapter 11 filing with more capital, more equity, and more leverage than 50 Cent had before the paperwork was ever signed. Chapter 11 is not bankruptcy the way regular people understand bankruptcy. Chapter 11 is a restructuring. Chapter 11 is a legal shield. Chapter 11 is a strategy. And while Rick Ross mocked the filing, while Rick Ross made mixtape jokes about Curtis Jackson's fridge, Curtis Jackson quietly sold a company. Say the number out loud. $4 billion. $4 billion with a B. Rick Ross was laughing at a man who was engineering an exit worth more than the entire Maybach Music Group catalog combined, times 10, times 20. And nobody caught it. Nobody in the culture connected the dots because everybody was too busy watching the smoke. Watching the money sandwich. Watching the coffee table cash. Watching the fridge full of dollars. Watching the show. That was the show. The show was working exactly the way the show was designed to work. Say the word again for the algorithm. Designed. Which brings the story to the promised land. Fayetteville, Georgia. 109 rooms. A mansion once owned by Evander Holyfield, purchased by Rick Ross, splashed across every music video, every social media post, every documentary, every magazine feature, every drone shot Rick Ross could commission. The mansion becomes the brand. The brand becomes the mansion. And this is where every analyst, every podcast, every blog, every reaction channel went blind at the same exact moment. Because nobody, and I want you to feel this one, nobody ever asked how a 109-room mansion, a private jet, a warehouse of classic cars, a national restaurant licensing arrangement, and multiple Miami properties were all being carried simultaneously on the balance sheet of a Maybach Music Group release schedule that has been statistically declining for the better part of a decade. Rick Ross's most recent album reportedly moved fewer than 10,000 streams on release day. 10,000. Not 10 million. 10,000. And yet the promised land grew. The jet got Starlink. The Wingstop portfolio expanded. The car collection multiplied. The staff swelled. How? How does the math? Where is the money actually coming from? That is the question 50 Cent has been circling quietly, publicly, patiently for 18 straight years. And that is a question every reaction channel refused to ask, because asking the question out loud would ruin the entertainment for everyone. Now bolt this onto the current wave of headlines currently rippling through every platform. Federal-looking vehicles reportedly spotted near properties associated with William Leonard Roberts II. Bystander videos of tow trucks staged near a Miami private aviation hangar. Clips of restricted access notices attached to gates. Transport equipment lined up near a storage facility rumored to house Rick Ross's classic vehicle collection. Screenshots of what internet sleuths are calling ledger pages pulled from an overseas server. And I want you to hear this next part clearly. None of it is confirmed as of this recording. Every clip circulating right now is unverified. Every screenshot is unverified. Every alleged ledger is unverified. Say the word again for the algorithm. Unverified. But here is what is not unverified. Here is what is not rumor. Here is what is not speculation. 50 Cent, on a broadcast that has been replayed millions of times in the last 72 hours, reportedly told the audience the following. Rick Ross spent 10 straight years talking about Curtis Jackson's bankruptcy records. Rick Ross told the world Rick Ross's own legal team looked at Curtis Jackson's accounts. Rick Ross laughed. Rick Ross posted. Rick Ross monetized every second of it. And now, according to 50 Cent's own words on that same broadcast, Curtis Jackson's team allegedly pulled what 50 Cent described as real ledgers from the dark web. And 50 Cent then said on camera that the promised land is not an asset. 50 Cent said the promised land is a shell game. And 50 Cent said the government just got the master keys. Those are not rap lyrics. Those are not diss bars. Those are not battle rap punchlines. Those are sentences a forensic accountant would say. Those are sentences a federal prosecutor would say. Those are sentences a corporate lawyer would say with the blinds drawn and the phone on silent. So slow down. Rewind. Read the room. Because the pattern is now impossible to unsee. Every single time in the last 18 years that Rick Ross tried to hit 50 Cent with a rap punch, 50 Cent responded with a piece of paper. A payroll record. A corrections photograph. A courtroom pull. A financial insinuation. A Wingstop question. A lawnmower joke that was never actually a lawnmower joke. Because when a wealthy man mocks another wealthy man for personally cutting his own 400-acre lawn at 7 in the morning, that is not a class joke. That is a cash flow question dressed up as a class joke. 50 Cent is asking, in front of the entire culture, why would a man with an active private jet, a national restaurant portfolio, and a 109-room estate be personally operating a John Deere at 7 a.m.? And the answer Rick Ross has always given, that Rick Ross likes it, that Rick Ross finds it peaceful, that Rick Ross enjoys the hobby, might very well be true. But 50 Cent has never once been asking about the hobby. 50 Cent has been asking about the payroll, about the ground staff, about the operational cost of property that size, about whether the promised land is actually generating income or whether the promised land is a very expensive stage prop bankrolled by something the culture has never been allowed to see clearly. And then flip the coin. The moment Rick Ross was photographed at a commercial airport in a third world terminal. No security, no assistant, no entourage, no right-hand man, waiting at a gate like a regular passenger with a boarding pass in his hand. The internet had a field day. Rick Ross had an explanation. The jet, allegedly, was being upgraded with Starlink, a $500,000 Wi-Fi installation. Fair enough. That is a reasonable explanation. But 50 Cent did not attack the explanation. 50 Cent attacked the visual. Because 50 Cent understands better than any rapper alive that in the modern attention economy, the visual is the ledger. The commercial flight is the balance sheet. The lawnmower is the cash flow statement. Every image is a data point. And every data point, once collected, once cataloged, once cross-referenced against every other data point over 18 years, tells a story that no press release, no music video, and no Instagram post can ever undo. And now, allegedly, according to unverified reports circling every major platform, that story is being told to people wearing federal badges instead of Yankee fitteds. Told to people carrying subpoenas instead of platinum chains. Told to people reading spreadsheets instead of track lists. Here is the part nobody in the culture wants to say. Ready? Here it is. If, and this is a very big, very load-bearing if, the alleged ledgers 50 Cent referenced on that broadcast turn out to be real, and the alleged federal activity near properties associated with William Leonard Roberts II turns out to be real, and the alleged review of the restaurant licensing arrangements connected to Rick Ross's business portfolio turns out to be real, then the last 18 years of the Rick Ross versus 50 Cent narrative was never a rap beef at all. It was 50 Cent, on the world's biggest stage, publishing an investigation in real time. And nobody read the investigation as an investigation because 50 Cent packaged the investigation as comedy. That is not a rivalry. That is a masterclass in narrative warfare. 50 Cent hid a receipt inside every joke. 50 Cent hid a subpoena inside every meme. 50 Cent hid a financial disclosure inside every Instagram post about a lawnmower. And Rick Ross, allegedly focused on the volume, missed the frequency. Rick Ross argued with the noise while 50 Cent broadcast a signal directly to the audience that actually mattered. Not the fans. The forensic audience. Now hear this next paragraph twice. Nothing in this recording is a legal accusation. Nothing in this recording is a verdict. Nothing in this recording is confirmed by any federal agency, any court filing, or any authenticated document. Everything currently circulating online as of this moment is allegation and speculation. Rick Ross has a presumption of innocence. Rick Ross has a constitutional right to respond. Rick Ross has a right to defend the empire Rick Ross built. And Rick Ross, if history is any indicator at all, will respond loudly, richly, and on Rick Ross's own terms with the cameras rolling and the Rolls Royce running. But the culture, the audience, the people watching from the outside, the millions of viewers who spent 18 years laughing at Officer Ricky and mocking Curtis Jackson's Chapter 11, owe themselves one honest moment. And the honest question is simple. What if the joke was never on 50 Cent? What if the joke was always on the audience? What if every single one of us was watching a magic trick and clapping for the wrong hand the entire time? Let that land. Let that sit. Because the moment you accept even the possibility, the entire timeline reorganizes itself directly in front of your eyes. 2008. BET Awards backstage tension. Not a rap thing. A first look. 2009. Mafia music leak. Not a rap thing. A provocation designed to force a response. 2009. Officer Ricky reveal. Not a rap thing. A document release. 2015. Chapter 11 filing. Not a bankruptcy. A restructuring under legal cover. 2015. $4 billion company exit. Not a coincidence. A capital repositioning. 2020s. Lawnmower jokes. Not shade. Cash flow inquiries. 2020s. Commercial flight photograph. Not embarrassment. Evidence. 2026. Live broadcast alleged ledger reveal. Not a diss. A publication. 2026. Alleged federal activity at properties reportedly associated with William Leonard Roberts II. Not a raid, because nothing is officially confirmed, but not nothing either. Because when 18 years of paper trails suddenly light up on the same 72-hour news cycle, that is not coincidence. That is choreography executed by somebody who has been reading a room for 2 full decades without ever blinking. And here is the biggest question of all. The one that is going to keep the internet awake for the next 30 days. If 50 Cent has actually been running a 2-decade forensic operation disguised as a rap beef, then who else is on that ledger? Because ledgers do not contain one name. Ledgers contain networks. Ledgers contain cosigners. Ledgers contain accountants. Ledgers contain business partners. Ledgers contain silent investors. Ledgers contain real estate agents. Ledgers contain jet brokers. Ledgers contain the people who sign the paperwork for the promised land. Ledgers contain the executives who structured the Wingstop deal. Ledgers contain the compliance officers who signed off on wire transfers most people in the culture will never see. Say the sentence again. Ledgers contain networks. And that is the second shoe. The second shoe has not yet dropped. Because if even a fraction of the online speculation about additional documents, additional names, and additional overseas server material turns out to be even partially accurate, then Rick Ross is not the finish line. Rick Ross is a doorway. And the hallway behind that door might be very, very long and very, very loud when the lights come on. That is why every executive in hip-hop is quietly refreshing news feeds at 3 in the morning. That is why alleged screenshots of nervous group chats between music industry insiders have reportedly been leaking for 48 straight hours. That is why one anonymous executive reportedly told a major outlet that if any additional records are ever released, the fallout, and this is a direct paraphrase, would not stop at one artist. Read that sentence again. Would not stop at one artist. So who is standing in the hallway behind the door? Who is holding the door open? Who is holding the key? Who is holding a lawyer on speed dial? Who is quietly moving assets from one holding company to another as we speak? Nobody knows for certain. But somebody somewhere is definitely moving. And still, the smart move is caution. Because rumors move faster than facts and social media rewards speed over accuracy every single time. Every viral post, every reaction clip, every screenshot with a red circle drawn around it has to be weighed against the reality that nothing has been officially confirmed. Nothing. The alleged tow trucks might have been routine transport. The alleged federal vehicles might have been unrelated to any active investigation. The alleged ledgers might be complete fabrications. The alleged overseas server might not exist at all. The alleged Wingstop licensing changes might be normal corporate housekeeping any brand goes through every quarter. Every single one of those alleged elements has to survive verification before any of it becomes reality. The internet does not have the receipts yet. Only 50 Cent, allegedly, has the receipts. And 50 Cent is dropping them on his own schedule, on his own broadcast, on his own terms, with his own timing. But here is the thing about smoke. Smoke does not require fire in order to exist as smoke. Smoke only requires the appearance of fire. And once the culture believes the fire is real, the brand damage begins whether the fire is real or not. That is the trap Rick Ross is currently sitting inside. That is the trap 50 Cent has been engineering brick by brick, joke by joke, meme by meme, receipt by receipt for 18 straight years. And that is the trap that no amount of Instagram posts, no amount of Fayetteville lawn mowing selfies, no amount of Columbia performance videos, no amount of feature verses, no amount of Wingstop press releases, and no amount of luxury car cameos can pull Rick Ross out of if the culture decides the smoke is thick enough to matter tonight. So what happens next? That is the last question. And here is the honest answer. Nobody knows. Not the blogs. Not the podcasts. Not the reaction channels. Not the anonymous executives on background. Not the influencers pretending to have inside sources. Nobody. What happens next depends on whether any of the alleged documents are ever verified. What happens next depends on whether any federal agency ever publicly confirms any of the reported activity. What happens next depends on whether Rick Ross steps to a microphone with a lawyer beside him and dismantles every claim one by one. What happens next depends on whether 50 Cent has, as the online rumors suggest, additional material queued up in a second wave, a third wave, a fourth wave. What happens next depends on the algorithm. What happens next depends on the culture. What happens next depends on the courts. What happens next depends on the calendar. But one thing is now absolutely certain. The Rick Ross versus 50 Cent narrative will never be read the same way again. Because once you see the pattern, once you see the receipts hidden inside the punchlines, once you see the accountant hiding behind the wrapper, once you see the paperwork tucked inside the beef, you cannot go back to watching this the way you watched it before. This is no longer a rap beef. This is a case study. And every single person who ever laughed at Officer Ricky, every single person who ever mocked Curtis Jackson's Chapter 11, every single person who ever thought this rivalry was petty or silly or entertainment first, has to sit with the possibility that the biggest, longest, loudest joke in modern hip-hop was actually the most patient investigation the culture has ever witnessed in real time and in real color and in real receipts. And there is a deeper layer nobody has touched yet. Look at the timing pattern. Every single major 50 Cent public jab at Rick Ross has landed on or around a moment of quiet expansion in Rick Ross's portfolio. When Rick Ross added Wingstop locations, the Lawnmower jokes intensified. When Rick Ross reportedly expanded his transportation arrangements, the commercial flight photograph went viral overnight. When Rick Ross allegedly restructured a portion of his real estate holdings, the Officer Ricky memes reappeared like clockwork. That is not comedy. That is a metronome. That is someone tracking a subject in real time and firing a public signal every time the subject makes a private move. Signal warfare disguised as social media pettiness. And the fact that the culture has watched this metronome tick for 18 years without hearing the tick is the part that should keep every industry insider awake at night. Now sit with this. If any single one of the allegedly leaked documents connects to a licensed corporate entity, the investigation is not limited to Rick Ross. Corporate entities have officers. Officers have signatures. Signatures have addresses. Addresses have neighbors. Neighbors have opinions. And once federal review reportedly begins on an entity, it does not review one file. It reviews every file, every board resolution, every wire transfer, every real estate closing, every restaurant franchise agreement, every private jet lease, every insurance policy, every contractor invoice, every payroll record, every single line on every single spreadsheet Rick Ross's team has ever generated for any tax year the review chooses to open. And when that review runs, the paper does not lie the way people lie. The paper tells the truth quietly and slowly and completely and cannot be edited after the fact. That is the part 50 Cent has understood since 2009. That is the part the culture has refused to understand since 2009. Paper does not blink. Paper does not need a cosign. Paper does not need a diss track. Paper does not need to trend. Paper just sits in a folder in an office in a building in a city until somebody with the right badge and the right subpoena opens the folder and reads the sentences one by one by one by one. And every joke Rick Ross ever made at 50 Cent's expense, every mixtape verse, every interview clip, every laugh, every post, every taunt, every hug at every event, every gold chain photograph, every private jet cameo, is now allegedly a data point in a folder that maybe, just maybe, sits on somebody's desk right now under fluorescent light. Say the word one more time for the algorithm. Allegedly. Because none of this is proven. None of this is confirmed. None of this is verdict. But all of this, every syllable of it, is the exact texture of the conversation currently happening in every corner of hip-hop from Miami to Los Angeles to Atlanta to Queens to overseas group chats no reporter has cracked open yet. Now the microphone belongs to the audience. Tell the truth in the comments. Anyone? Did anyone catch this pattern before today? Did anyone connect the Officer Ricky reveal to the Chapter 11 flip to the Lawnmower cash flow inquiries to the commercial flight visual to the alleged ledger reveal to the alleged federal activity in a single continuous thread? Because if the answer is no, and the answer is almost certainly no, then the culture owes 50 Cent something bigger than a diss track ranking. The culture owes 50 Cent a rewatch, a rewrite, a reread of the entire 18-year timeline. From 2008 to right now. Frame by frame. Post by post. Meme by meme. Receipt by receipt. And Rick Ross, whatever happens in the next 30 days, whatever the federal reports turn out to say or not say, whatever the alleged documents turn out to confirm or debunk, deserves the same due process every citizen of this country deserves. No more. No less. Say the words again. Due process. Presumption of innocence. Verified facts over viral screenshots. Because the culture has burned people before on rumors that later turned out to be lies. The culture will absolutely burn people again if the culture does not learn to slow down. So watch, wait, verify, and keep your eyes locked on the hallway behind the door. Because the second shoe, if a second shoe exists at all, is not going to tiptoe when it lands. The second shoe will land loud. The second shoe will land in front of cameras. The second shoe will land on the same 72-hour cycle that already lit up. And when the second shoe lands, the entire music industry is going to feel the floor shake underneath every hidden deal, every quietly renegotiated catalog, every shell arrangement still standing in silence. Every silent investor who thought silence was the same thing as safety, and every executive who assumed the storm was pointing somewhere else. If any of this landed, if any of this hit different, if any of this made the last 18 years reorganize inside your head, then do the thing. Hit the like. Hit the subscribe. Drop a comment telling the culture exactly when you first started noticing the pattern. Share this video with a friend who still thinks the Rick Ross versus 50 Cent situation was just a rap beef, because that friend is about to get a wake-up call in the next news cycle. And keep the notifications on, because the next update is coming, and the next update after that is coming, and the next chapter is going to be louder than the last chapter, and the chapter after that is going to make every previous chapter look like a warm-up. Stay locked in. Stay skeptical. Stay curious. And do not, under any circumstances, look away from the promised land, from the Wingstop portfolio, from the overseas server rumors, or from a man in a tinted lawnmower cabin cutting 400 acres of grass at 7 in the morning. Because somewhere in the middle of all of that noise, the real story is still moving. Quietly, patiently, deliberately. Exactly the way 50 Cent designed the real story to move all the way back in 2009. Watch closely. The next update lands soon. Do not blink. Because when this door finally opens all the way, the hallway on the other side is going to be full of names the culture has been saying for years without ever realizing which side of the ledger those names were sitting on the entire time.